Welcome to the awards luncheon. Okay. If I can have your attention, I hope you're enjoying your lunch. We'll try not to disturb it too much, but we did want to take a moment today to do the awards presentation. And we have a very special guest with us today from the state of Massachusetts, Governor Charles Baker. Okay, so as I said, welcome to Governor Baker. It's great to have you here. Thank you very much, and for your hospitality of the state of Massachusetts and the city of Boston. We've really enjoyed ourselves here so far, so thank you very much. So far. We got a whole week. There's bars to visit, places to go. Yeah. So we're not spending the whole time inside here. Today we have really two sets of awards that we want to announce. One is the Galactic Grant Competition that the governor's here to announce, and we'll do that next. And then we'll follow that with the ISSRDC Conference Awards. So, again, as I said, this is a special session. We've been doing this for 2 or 3 years now, and we like to continue this trend. And, of course, this is all about cutting-edge research and innovation. And so where else would we do this but here in Boston, Massachusetts? Governor Baker is an innovator. He graduated from Harvard, obtained his MBA from Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management. In '92, he was the Massachusetts Secretary of Health and Human Services. After working for the government for 8 years, he left to become CEO of the Harvard Vanguard Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Charlie was entrepreneur in residence at General Catalyst Partners, a big VC firm, and understands innovation, life science, and hopefully after today's luncheon space as well. So with a record like that and a history like that, this is really perfect to have an individual as accomplished as Governor Baker come up here and talk about the next set of awards that we have to announce. So, Governor Baker, it's all yours.
Thank you. So, let me just say, first of all, that introduction would have probably given most of you the impression that I've had a pretty checkered career. That would be correct. But I have managed to spend a bunch of time in the public sector and in the private sector, in big and small organizations, and over the course of that time have learned a lot about innovation, which can take all kinds of forms and all kinds of situations. And some of the innovations and reforms that I've been closest to have been organizational reform, which may not be as cool and as interesting as other kinds of innovations, but believe me, over the course of time, they make a big difference too. You know, I was, and this is true, I was talking to some folks in the office this morning, and I was looking over the agenda for this conference, and I said, "You have got to be kidding me. What the hell am I going to say to a crowd like this?" And the reason I said that was because, like everybody, I'm constantly involved in conversations about what we're not doing right with this, or we're not doing right with that, or whatever's not coming as moving along as fast as I would like it to. And I look at them and I say, you know, it's not rocket science. It's not brain surgery. We should be able to figure this out. And here I am at a conference. It's about rocket science and brain surgery and a whole bunch of other things that play at a very different level. But you are, in some respects, sitting in a very important place. Someone said to me the other day, you know, the real key to the success of the Massachusetts economy is we created 2 great research institutions and then we waited 200 years. And a big part of what's grown up within 10 miles of where you are today is that educational, medical, innovative cluster. which contains all kinds of organizations that have a role to play and what a lot of people consider to be one of the most thriving, exciting, and interesting parts of our global economy you're going to find anywhere. And therefore, we are thrilled to have this conference for the International Space Station taking place here in the Commonwealth of Mass, but especially here in Boston, so close to so much of the innovation that this part of the world has been known for. You mentioned I used to work for a healthcare organization. One of my customers was Draper Labs, which is a great company. It's been doing very interesting work for many years over in Cambridge. But when you think about Draper Labs, you think mostly about what I would describe as sort of science and engineering and a lot of defense activity, optical research, micro devices, and all the rest. And a few years ago, I was over visiting with them when I was still at Harvard Pilgrim, and I said, so what are you working on? And they said, well, we're actually working on this thing that you might find kind of interesting. We are doing a lot of really interesting work in nano manufacturing. And they basically, I didn't really understand it, but they mostly explained to me in a way that I sort of understood what they were talking about. And they said, and we've developed this really interesting relationship with the people at the Mass Eye and Ear, which is a very important hospital that I literally could practically see out the window across the Charles River tidal basin. They said, see, there's this degenerative eye disease that there's a cure for, but the problem with the cure is the only way you can administer it is to put it in a needle and inject it on a regular basis into somebody's eye. Now, needless to say, no one really wants that treatment, despite the therapeutic benefit. And they said one of the things we've been talking to them about is building a device that would be small enough to fit underneath your eyelid, but sophisticated enough that would be able to elute the drug that solves the problem associated with the illness over time. Now, that's the sort of thing that you could get somebody to engage in on a pretty regular basis. And that was one of the first times somebody actually took an application that was developed for one place and one space in front of me and put it into another one. And I think in some ways that's one of the more interesting elements of our cluster here in technology, innovation, biomedicine, biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, and all the rest, and the space station. Because if you look at a lot of the benefits that accrued to society as a result of the original, let's put a man on the moon, many of them weren't just about putting a man on the moon. It was about all of the knowledge gained and all the new ways to think about things and all the tools and the applications that came about as a result of the effort that was led by President Kennedy back in the 60s to put a man on the moon. One of the greatest opportunities we all have, no matter what your chosen field, from the smallest and simplest ideas to the biggest and the most complicated, is to be able to see somebody's tool and make it work in some new and different way. Now, this example has nothing to do with the space station or any of the stuff you're going to talk about this week. But for me, it was a real interesting example of taking something and creating something new out of it that was better, productive, job-creating, and truly innovative. I was down visiting Ocean Spray's Crazen facility. You guys all know what craisins are? Those of you who aren't from around here? Okay. They're basically cranberries that look like raisins, hence craisins. So once upon a time, 15 years ago, Ocean Spray ran a processing plant, southeastern Massachusetts, where they basically would squeeze the cranberry juice out of the cranberries, and then they would pay farmers to take the shells that were left away. This was the ultimate trash. You weren't even able to put it on the curb and have somebody else take it. You literally had to pay somebody to get rid of it. And then one day, one of the folks that worked in the facility was looking at the thing and said, "Looks a lot like a raisin. I wonder if there's an opportunity to do something different with this." And sure enough, a few months later, was born the Craisin, which previously had been the end product and the trash that you threw away associated with creating cranberry juice, and instead became a new product line for Ocean Spray, which eventually led to the hiring of about 500 people to process this new product, which became a $400 million line of business that's currently sold in 60 different countries and is one of the fastest growing products from this country and this region in China. Pretty innovative, but not exactly the sort of thing that people think about when they talk about innovation. Now, the number of opportunities that our biotechnology world here has to learn from the work that's done by all of you is probably pretty well known to this audience. The possibilities with respect to drug discovery, in dealing with the constant changes associated with human biology for those who are in space, the ability to speed up processes that would normally be much harder to do in a more traditional way, the opportunities associated with how we can think about human development that come about as a result of a lot of the testing and the work that can be done in conjunction with manned space travel. Pretty big and pretty profound, and in many cases will probably take research that would take a very long time under normal circumstances and significantly shorten the time frame associated with getting from here to there. We also have a fairly well-developed aerospace and technology development operation here in the Commonwealth. And whether you're talking about satellites and sensors or downstream applications like tropical cyclone forecasting, urban planning, land management, and the rest, they're all opportunities for people to take the basic knowledge that's developed through this work and apply it across a much broader set of opportunities and perspectives. Most of you probably know that NASA also has a long history here in the Commonwealth. And there's always been a big urban myth out there that some of you may even know if this is true. And if you do, I'd appreciate it if you don't tell me if it's the wrong answer. Because we've always thought that if JFK had lived, then the original development associated with the final frontier would have happened here instead of in Texas. Okay, you're all laughing, so there's your answer to my question. Okay. But in many ways, I'm not sure anybody truly appreciated how many spin-offs and how much knowledge there was to be gained from that original big idea and aspirational notion about what was possible with respect to putting a man on the moon. And I think most people don't know that in 1964, it was here in Massachusetts was chosen for the original home of the Electronics Research Center. It's 50 years later, they've closed down, but if you take a trip through Kendall Square, which is where a lot of this stuff was located originally, it's pretty clear that's a booming center for innovation across a wide variety of fields and disciplines, some respects the beating heart of the technology and medical revolution here in the Commonwealth. Complementing a lot of that, we have 122 colleges and universities, the top 5 National Institute of Health funded hospitals in the country. I always get a kick out of saying that, mostly because we train over 50% of the nation's doctors. You're welcome. We also have the best educated workforce in the U.S., and there are almost 1,000 biotechnology and medical technology companies located here in the Commonwealth. We are, in fact, a hotbed of innovation, always have been and always will be, no matter how you define it, because we've always been one of those places that lives by our wits, and we get that. Now, you mentioned that I spent some time working for General Catalyst. They'll be thrilled to know that they're a very large venture capital firm, because in the context of venture capital firms generally, I think they're pretty big, but got some really big ones on the West Coast, I'm told. But one of the great things I learned from the time that I spent there was how many cases the disciplines are coming together and people are using ideas and tools from different disciplines to offer up and chase new solutions to old problems using capabilities and techniques that weren't previously either understood or appreciated. And the digitization that's taking place, especially in my old world in healthcare, of information is going to change in a big way the way we think about a lot of things with respect to that going forward. And one of my great hopes is a lot of this information, which at this point is still just tons and tons and tons of data that people are still trying to figure out exactly what they have. My hope is that a lot of it can ultimately become predictive modeling and predictive tools that can be used to help us do a much better job of not just managing illness and disease, but in many cases getting to the heart of where I think one of the biggest problems we face in healthcare resides. Most people who are dealing with some sort of a chronic condition, they're either normal or they're not. And that's pretty much the way the state of play with respect to their circumstance gets measured, almost no matter what device or tool they're using. So if you're normal, everything's great with respect to what your heart disease, your diabetes, your congestive heart failure, your pulmonary artery disease, whatever it happens to be, until you're not. And then at that point in time, it's very important that you in the healthcare system and whoever your caregiver is moves pretty quickly to solve whatever your problem is. We've never really figured out in a personalized way whether you are likely to be one of those people who falls out of normal and into not quickly or over a long period of time. And we've never been very good at tracking and trending normal but negative trending. Over the course of the next, pick a number, 5 to 10 years, I fully expect that a lot of information coming from a lot of different disciplines is going to give us the ability to treat chronic conditions in a far more effective and different way than we ever have been able to before. And a lot of the learning that's going to drive that is going to come out of the revolution, not in healthcare per se, but in people's ability for the first time to aggregate information in a very different way and to organize it and to present it so that it can be factored much more personally into the way we go about treating and monitoring illness and disease. And for me anyway, a lot of that has come from other disciplines and other fields and is finally being brought to bear in one of the more complicated ones of all, which is the study of human anatomy and human biology and human chemistry. And I'm pretty excited about that. Now, with respect to the Galactic Grant Competition, I think most of you know that today we're announcing the winners. Mike Keneally's here from the Mass Life Sciences Center. This is a partnership between the Mass Life Sciences Center and the Center for the Advancement of Science and Space. The competition was focused on helping mass-based life science companies get access to the ISS National Lab in order to conduct cutting-edge research and product development. The competition began in November of last year, and since then, both centers have reached out to companies throughout industry to find the best projects. Information sessions were held throughout the state. Lots of work went into this, into vetting the projects, and ultimately 2 great projects were selected. Congratulations to NanoBioSim, a company founded to create breakthrough technologies that emerge from the conversion of physics, nanotechnology, and biomedicine. Again, multidisciplinary approach to solving a particular set of problems. And Zyput Flow Technologies, which is a startup company based on technology at MIT to bring innovative tools for continuous flow chemistry, a way to greatly improve efficiency for manufacturers. Again, across many disciplines with many different applications and a ton of potential going forward. Both of those organizations are a testament to the cutting-edge innovation and research opportunities that we believe are here in Boston and throughout the Commonwealth. And it's pretty great for all of us that the ISS considers our resources as a productive place to play. And as governor, I can tell you that my goal is to do nothing to screw up what's been working here. Always a major challenge for those of us in the public sector, and to do whatever we can to support not only the innovative work of many of the existing collaborations that are here, but to make sure that we create the kind of economic climate in which young people want to be here, companies want to get started, people want to make investments, and take their ideas to the next level. Because as I said, sometimes inquiry and innovation can lead you in all kinds of places you never expected it to go. Witness the Crazen. Thanks very much. Appreciate being here today.
Thank you, Governor. I'm Mike Keneally. I'm the Assistant Secretary for Business Growth here in the Commonwealth and the interim CEO of the Mass Life Sciences Center. As the Governor alluded to, we think the future is bright for life sciences here in Massachusetts, and we believe we have the world's leading ecosystem for life sciences, innovation, and growth. Now, with our partners at CASIS, we created the Galactic Grant Competition to offer life sciences companies in the Commonwealth the opportunity to conduct breakthrough research in an environment that you literally can't find anywhere on Earth. And congratulations to NanoBioSim and Zyput. Let me tell you a little bit more about these 2 companies. NanoBioSim is developing technologies that emerge from the integration of physics, biomedicine, and nanotechnology. And with this funding, the company will pursue a study to predict bacterial mutations in a zero-gravity environment. This work will be of great value in the development of new antibiotics to combat drug-resistant infections, which, if not tackled, could kill more than 10 million people every year. Zyput is a startup launched to bring to market innovative tools for continuous flow chemistry. And with this project, they will seek to understand the role that gravity has on their small-scale liquid separation device, with the goal of scaling up their product, which is used in lab research today, and have that product be used in chemical production. So the funding is provided by the Mass Life Sciences Center through a grant to CASIS, and it will allow these 2 companies to leverage up to $7.4 million of support per project from CASIS to fly the projects up to the space station, conduct their projects on the station, and then bring their experiments back to Earth. Each company also has the opportunity to use the labs at the Kennedy Space Center and other NASA facilities, and they'll have the support of real-time in-orbit operations, such as the involvement of astronauts like Massachusetts' own Katie Coleman, who's here with us today. So congratulations again to NanoBioSim and Zyput on their success. Best wishes for the future, and thank you to CASIS for being such a great partner for the Commonwealth. Thank you. And let's at this point have the two companies come up on stage.
So I'd like to thank Governor Baker and his office for finding time to spend with us today. And also to NanoBioSim and to Zyput, nicely done. Congratulations. So on behalf of NASA and CASIS, we look forward to having you guys on orbit with your experiments and look forward to the results. So the next part of the lunch today is to go through the ISS R&D Conference Innovation Awards and the Compelling Results Award. And the ISS Program Chief Scientist, Ms. Julie Robinson, is going to go through that for us today.
Thank you, Mike. As you know, every year at this conference, we look back over the last 12 months and we select awardees based on the quality and the innovation of research results that have been conducted. And this year we have 3 innovation awards to present. These awards are for innovative uses of the ISS or innovative uses of the results from research that maybe had its seed or its beginning on the ISS, and especially those results that lead to terrestrial benefits. And the first award goes to, do you guys want to go ahead and stand up and be ready to shake, or how do you want to do that? As you can tell, there aren't a lot of Space Academy awards, so we're not in good practice. Okay. So the first award will go to Dr. Mehran Anvari, who is Scientific Director and CEO of the Center for Surgical Invention and Innovation. And that is in the area of biology and medicine for the image-guided autonomous robot. So Dr. Anvari, please come to the stage. I think of this research as sort of the terminator of the space station because it began with robotic arms, first the robotic arms that assembled the space station, then later the robotic arms on the space station and the Dexter, the hand on the robotic arm on the space station, but it soon came back to Earth and has led to a number of innovative robotics applications. This latest is, I think, one that is near and dear to many people's hearts in this room because the IGAR, as it's called for short, is expected to provide increased access and precision and accuracy in dealing with breast cancer. IGAR works in combination with an MRI machine, which is highly sensitive to the early detection of suspicious breast lesions. And the radiologist is able to use specially designed software to tag the target and tell IGAR exactly the best path to take in performing the treatment. And the radiologist can operate in this challenging environment without having positional changes and things like that that could disrupt being very accurate in placing things. So that accuracy we demanded of robotics in space comes back home and can be used to help improve the lives of the many women around the world that, or may be able to be used to improve the lives of these many women around the world. Health Canada has approved a phase 2 clinical trial for IGAR, which is a really important milestone and accomplishment, and that trial was launched in December 2014. So please join me in congratulating Dr. Anvari. Our next innovation award is for the area of commercialization, and it goes to Dr. Paul Reichert from Merck Laboratories. Many of you may have had the opportunity to hear him speak just before this, for his work on the caseous protein crystal growth experiments. Dr. Reichert? Dr. Reichert's work has been focused on studying monoclonal antibodies on the ISS. The first of these, and you can tell they're monoclonal antibodies because the drug name ends with a MAB for monoclonal antibody. So the first of these was developed during space station assembly, and he's continued innovative work beyond that. In order to fight multiple diseases and pathogens, these monoclonal antibodies are produced by the human immune system. And Dr. Reichert's work has been focused on getting the structure of these monoclonal antibodies by using crystallization in space. The high-quality crystals can be used by the pharmaceutical industry to determine the protein structure, improve drug delivery and drug purification methods, and even provide better ways to store sensitive molecules. Dr. Reichert has done numerous protein crystal growth investigations in space. He's been a PI on 12 different previous space shuttle flights and 2 ISS flights. And we're excited to see the continued growth and development of his innovative work. Congratulations, Dr. Reichert.
Thanks.
Our final innovation award today is for the area of technology development, and it goes to Jason Dunn from Made in Space for 3D printing and zero-G technology demonstration. Mr. Dunn, please come to the stage. So Jason is the co-founder and the chief technology officer for Made in Space, and they demonstrated the first 3D printing in microgravity on the International Space Station. Now, as most of you probably know, 3D printers basically put out little streams or little dots of heated plastic, metal, or other material, can build a three-dimensional object layer by layer. Testing a 3D printer in zero gravity with these low-temperature plastics as a first test was a really important first step towards stepping beyond low Earth orbit and being able to repair parts and things that might go wrong as humans move further and further from our home planet. And that enables future deep space crewed missions and in-space manufacturing opportunities. So we're very excited that Made in Space came to the ISS, and congratulate them on their success. Our second category is the area of compelling results. And this is where scientists look at some of the most promising results that have been published in the last 12 months, or that have come or developed from other research perhaps done earlier, and really what are the standouts that we've seen over the last year. The first award today goes to Dr. Robert Furl and Dr. Annalisa Paul from the University of Florida for transgenic Arabidopsis gene expression system intracellular signaling architecture. And it's a real pleasure to welcome my good friends to the stage to accept this award. So on Earth, plants use gravity, moisture, and light to decide which way to grow. I like to say that if a seed makes a bad decision and sends the shoot down and the root up, it's a very short-lived plant. In the Tejas system, Annalisa and Rob used thale cress, which is a little tiny plant that we probably know more about genetically than any other plant in the world. They use that as a model organism to study how those seedlings grow in microgravity and actually what genes, what molecular changes are turning on and off when those plants grow. And that provided us new insight into how plants respond to the extraterrestrial environments. That could have a lot of different impacts, everything from research for growing food, maybe in less desirable environments or places where the plants are stressed, to producing food for astronauts to eat on future space missions. The researchers have identified over 1,500 proteins, which included 1,167 leaf proteins and 1,150 root proteins, and published all of this work, plus some other innovative things that they then went to do on sounding rocket platforms, and then they bring the ideas back to the International Space Station. So I also honor them as the first scientists I've seen arguing with other scientists because they all had experiments flying at the same time and were challenging each other's hypothesis, and that's the sign of a very healthy laboratory. So congratulations, Rob and Annalisa. Our next award for compelling results goes to Dr. Ashke Kundan, Dr. Joel Plofsky, and Dr. Peter Wayner of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute for their work on the constrained vapor bubble experiment. If you could please come to the stage. It's been a while. It has. It's good to see you again. Congratulations. So you may not think that you care about constrained vapor bubbles, but if you own a laptop computer, you most certainly do, because two-phase flow systems carrying heat from one place to another are a key part of the heat transfer that keeps that computer from cooking itself to death when it gets warm. And heat pipes are really important for use in space because they contain no moving parts that might need replacement. Their pumps can't break down. But heat pipes are also really important in LED light bulbs and laptops and supercomputers. So the work that this team has done really over a decade, but with their most important publication coming out in the last 12 months, has received a variety of acknowledgement in the scientific community, including news write-ups in Science and so forth, for being such an innovative new piece of research in physical review letters. And what they were able to find is that in some cases the fluids don't flow the way that you would expect on Earth, but they actually operate in a different way, and so they are less efficient than they would otherwise be. That's really important both for designing better heat transfer systems on Earth, but also especially for better heat transfer systems in space. And so we congratulate them on this great innovative work in brand new physics. Our final award today for compelling results goes to Dr. Daniela G. Grimm of Aarhus University in Denmark for the Nanorock Cell Box experiment, effect of microgravity on human thyroid carcinoma cells. Dr. Grimm. When I first saw this particular publication and this set of work, I thought it was so exciting because it represented a very unique way of looking at a certain type of cancer in space. When tumor cells are grown in a lab on Earth, gravity affects the way that they grow and the shapes that they take, and they don't really look like tumor cells grow inside the body. In this experiment, thyroid cancer cells were grown in microgravity, which allowed them to grow in better spheres or better layers that could be more predictive of perhaps the way that cancer cells would grow in the body. And from this study, the researchers used 6 experiment containers and did both centrifuge controls as well as free-floating non-controls, and that's one of the first uses of that in the European Space Agency equipment. So isolating these cell processes, understanding how the cells are talking to one another as they form a tumor, is incredibly important work. It could lead to new thyroid cancer drugs and provide a better understanding of the mechanism leading to cancer development, and could provide new treatments for getting rid of cancer or providing some other kinds of cancer therapy. And so we really congratulate Dr. Grimm and his colleagues on their innovative work and look forward to the next experiments that will come. Each year, it's really our pleasure to bring you these innovative ideas, and of course, there are many, many more. Some of these will be in talks in the technical sessions. Some of them will be in the plenary sessions. Some of them will be in the posters, and we urge you to take advantage of the different people here now with the great experience they have on the space station and take their work as a challenge, because many of you sitting in the audience also have innovative ideas, and I'd like to see you up here next year. Thank you very much.
Okay, folks, that concludes our award ceremony and luncheon. Enjoy the rest of your lunch, and the next session will begin at 2:15, so we'll see you there. Thank you.